Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked the cornfields one last time before sunset. The orange sky of New Eden made the golden crops glow beautifully. Being a farmer wasn't easy, but he loved every minute of it. 3 years had passed since he left Earth to start a new life on this colony planet. The peace didn't last long. A loud boom shook the ground, making him stumble. Looking up, he saw 3 massive ships breaking through the clouds. Their design was unmistakable. Amazons from Artemis Prime. Everyone knew about these warrior women who stood 8 feet tall and looked down on humans as weak creatures. Raiders. Everyone take cover. Marcus shouted into his communicator. The warning sirens began to wail across the settlement. He could see other farmers running toward the safety bunkers, but he was too far from them. The barn was his only option. As he ran, the first group of Amazon warriors landed nearby. They wore shining armor that showed off their powerful muscles. Each one carried weapons that looked like they weighed as much as Marcus himself. Their leader, a warrior with bright red hair, shouted orders in their language. Marcus reached the barn and locked himself inside. His hand shook as he rushed to the back where he kept his special project, an electromagnetic pulse generator. He had built it to help with the farm equipment, but today it would serve a different purpose. The barn door exploded inward. An Amazon warrior stepped through, ducking her head under the doorframe. Her silver armor gleamed, and her black hair was tied in complex braids. She carried a massive energy spear and wore a smile that showed she thought this would be easy. "Little human," she said in broken English, "you will make good slave for Artemis Prime." Her voice was deep and powerful. Marcus stayed calm, even though his heart was racing. "I don't think so," he replied, keeping his hand on the pulse generator switch. He had noticed something about their armor during previous raids. It had electronic components. The Amazon warrior, Lysandra, as he would later learn was her name, took another step forward. "You are brave but stupid. I am Lysandra of the Elite Guard. Your weakness amuses me." "Weakness is a matter of perspective," Marcus said. As she raised her spear, he flipped the switch. A wave of invisible energy filled the barn. Lysandra's armor locked up immediately, freezing her in place. The energy spear fell from her hands, deactivated by the pulse. Her eyes widened in shock as she realized she couldn't move. What is this magic?" she demanded, struggling against her now rigid armor. "Not magic. Science. Something your people never bothered to study because you were too focused on physical strength." Marcus stepped forward, picking up her fallen spear. "Your armor uses electronic joints to enhance your already impressive strength. But electronics can be disrupted." More explosions sounded outside, but they were growing distant. The raid was moving away from his section of the settlement. Through the broken door, Marcus could see other Amazon ships already leaving, probably loaded with stolen supplies and captured humans. Lysandra continued to struggle, her face showing both anger and fear. "Kill me then, human. I will not beg." "Kill you? No." Marcus shook his head. "I'm going to show you something your people have forgotten. Mercy." He adjusted the pulse generator settings. "But until I can trust you, you'll stay exactly like this." "You will regret this decision," she growled. "Maybe." Marcus smiled slightly. "But I think we both might learn something interesting." He activated his communicator. "Settlement security. This is Marcus Chen from Section 7. I have a captured Amazon warrior, requesting assistance and containment protocols." As the sun set outside, Marcus watched his prisoner carefully. He knew this was either the biggest mistake of his life or the beginning of something that could change everything between their peoples. Only time would tell which it would be. 3 days had passed since Marcus captured Lysandra. He kept her in a special room in his farmhouse, using a modified version of his electromagnetic device to control her armor. The other settlers thought he was crazy for not sending her to the main prison, but Marcus had a different plan. "Your food, Lysandra," Marcus said, entering the room with a tray of fresh vegetables and grilled meat. He had adjusted the electromagnetic field so she could move her arms to eat, but her legs remained locked. Lysandra turned her head away. I will not eat your human scraps. This human scrap is fresh from my farm. Better than those nutrition packs your people eat on your ships. Marcus set the tray down. You haven't eaten in 3 days. Even Amazon warriors need food. Why do you not treat me like other humans treat captured warriors? Why am I not in chains in your minds? Her voice showed confusion rather than anger now. Marcus pulled up a chair. Because that's not who we are. Well, not who I am, at least. He pointed to the food. Eat. Then I want to show you something. Surprisingly, Lysandra picked up the fork. Her hunger had finally won over her pride. As she took the first bite, her eyes widened. This is good. That's what happens when you grow food in real soil instead of making it in factories like your people do. Marcus smiled. We may be physically weaker than Amazons, but we understand how to work with nature, not against it. After she finished eating, Marcus adjusted the electromagnetic field. I'm going to let you walk now. Try anything, and your armor locks up completely. They walked outside into the bright morning light. Marcus led her to his greenhouse, where rows of plants grew in carefully maintained conditions. This is how we feed our people, he explained, showing her the irrigation system he had designed. We use technology to help us grow food better, not to make fake food like your ships do. Lysandra looked at the plants with curiosity. On Artemis Prime, we believe working with plants is beneath warriors. We have servant classes for such tasks. And that's why your people often face food shortages, Marcus said, checking some tomato plants. Everyone here knows how to farm, how to fix machines, how to heal the sick. We don't divide ourselves into strict classes. But that makes no sense, Lysandra argued. Some must be better than others at these tasks. Of course. But we share our knowledge. Look at this. Marcus showed her a small computer screen displaying plant growth data. This system tells us exactly what each plant needs. I designed it myself, but I shared it with every farmer in the settlement. Now everyone's crops grow better. Lysandra stared at the screen, then at the plants. You give away your advantages. How do you prove your superiority? Marcus laughed. We don't need to prove we're superior. We work together to make everyone's lives better. That's real strength. As they walked back to the house, Lysandra was quieter than usual. She watched some children playing nearby, then saw an old woman teaching them about different plants. Your people are strange, she finally said, but perhaps not as weak as we thought. High praise from an Amazon warrior, Marcus smiled. Tomorrow, if you're interested, I can show you how we build our farming machines. Maybe you'll find more surprises. Back in her room, Lysandra sat on her bed, looking out the window at the settlement. For the first time in her life, she wondered if her people's way of thinking might be wrong. The thought both frightened and excited her. Marcus, meanwhile, sent a message to the settlement council. Project Understanding. Day 3. Progress better than expected. Continuing with the plan. A week had passed, and winter was coming to New Eden. The morning air grew colder each day, and Marcus was busy preparing his farm for the harsh season ahead. To his surprise, Lysandra had started asking to help. These containers must be sealed properly, Lysandra said, checking the food storage bins. She no longer wore her powered armor, having agreed to wear normal clothes after Marcus proved he trusted her. On Artemis Prime, poor storage means death in the cold season. You're getting good at this, Marcus replied, impressed by how quickly she learned farming tasks. But don't lift those heavy containers alone. We have machines for that. Lysandra smiled proudly. I am Amazon warrior. These are light for me. She picked up a large container of corn easily. But I understand now why you use machines. Not everyone is as strong. As they worked, other settlers came to help. At first, they stayed away from Lysandra, but soon they saw how hard she worked. Sarah, an old farmer, even showed Lysandra how to check seeds for next year's planting. Your people work together well, Lysandra said during their lunch break. They sat on Marcus's porch, eating warm soup. On my world, different warrior clans compete for resources. We never share knowledge like this. That's because we learned a long time ago that working together makes everyone stronger, Marcus explained. Look there. He pointed to where children were helping adults cover young plants for winter protection. Even your young ones work? Lysandra asked, surprised. They're learning. We believe everyone has something to teach and something to learn. Marcus watched as one child showed another how to properly wrap the plants. See, the older girl learned that yesterday, and now she's teaching her friend. Suddenly, dark clouds appeared on the horizon. The wind picked up, carrying a bitter chill. Storm's coming early, someone shouted. Big one. Everyone jumped into action. Marcus ran to his computer to check the weather data. This is bad. The storm will hit in an hour, and it's stronger than anything we've seen this season. Lysandra stood up, looking worried. What can I do to help? We need to get everything inside and secure all the equipment, Marcus said. With your strength, you could help move the heavy machinery. Without hesitation, Lysandra ran to help. She lifted heavy farming equipment that usually needed 2 people to move. Other settlers quickly got over their fear of her when they saw how hard she worked to help protect their community. The storm hit hard, with freezing wind and sharp ice pellets. Everyone gathered in the community center, bringing food and blankets to share. Lysandra watched in amazement as families helped each other, shared their supplies, and made sure everyone was warm and fed. In a storm like this on Artemis Prime, she said quietly to Marcus, each clan would protect only their own. Many would die. That's the difference, Marcus replied, helping distribute hot drinks. We learned that we're stronger together than alone. Late that night, as the storm raged outside, Lysandra helped some children build a fort out of blankets and chairs. She told them stories about Amazon warriors, but changed the endings to show cooperation instead of competition. Marcus watched, smiling, as the once fierce warrior played gently with human children. When everyone finally went to sleep, Lysandra found Marcus checking the weather reports. Marcus, she said seriously, I understand now what you've been trying to teach me. Your people are not weak. You have a different kind of strength. And your people have much to teach us too, Marcus replied. Imagine what we could accomplish if humans and Amazons worked together instead of fighting. Lysandra looked out at the storm, then back at the sleeping families. Perhaps that is possible now. The storm continued through the night, but inside, something new was growing. Understanding between 2 very different peoples, and maybe something more. 2 weeks after the storm, Marcus noticed something wrong with his crops. Dark spots covered the leaves of many plants in his greenhouse, and they were spreading quickly. Lysandra found him early one morning, staring worriedly at the infected plants. These plants are sick, Lysandra said, touching a spotted leaf. Like the Great Plague that killed crops on Artemis Prime 50 years ago. Many died during that time. This is different, Marcus said, taking samples and putting them under his microscope. Lysandra watched curiously as he worked. See here. He stepped aside to let her look through the microscope. Lysandra bent down awkwardly, unused to such delicate instruments. I see small things moving. What are they? A new type of fungus. The storm must have brought its spores. Marcus moved quickly to his computer. If we don't stop it, it could destroy all our food supplies for winter. Word spread through the settlement. Other farmers reported the same dark spots on their plants. Everyone gathered in the community center to discuss the problem. My warriors would burn all infected plants, Lysandra spoke up during the meeting. It is our way. Destroy the weakness to protect the strong. An older scientist named Dr. Chen, no relation to Marcus, shook her head. We can't burn our winter food supply. We need a smarter solution. Marcus had been quiet, thinking hard. What if we could change the plants to fight the fungus themselves? He turned to his computer and showed everyone some pictures. Look at these plants here. They're infected but fighting back. They're stronger than the others. You can make plants stronger? Lysandra asked, amazed. Without breeding new warriors. I mean, new plants. It's called genetic engineering, Marcus explained. We take the strong parts from one plant and give them to others. Dr. Chen, can you help me with this? The next few days were busy. Marcus and Dr. Chen worked in the lab, while Lysandra helped remove infected plants. She was fascinated by how they took tiny parts of the strong plants and mixed them with special liquids in small tubes. This is a different kind of battle, Lysandra said, watching Marcus work. You fight enemies too small to see with weapons too small to hold. Sometimes the biggest problems need the smallest solutions, Marcus replied, not looking up from his work. Can you hand me that blue container? Lysandra carefully picked up the container. Her hands, strong enough to bend metal, now moved with surprising gentleness. I would have never learned these things as a warrior. We are taught only to fight and conquer. After 5 days of hard work, Marcus and Dr. Chen created a spray that could help plants fight the fungus. They tested it on a few sick plants first. Within days, the dark spots stopped spreading. It works, Marcus shouted happily. Lysandra, who had barely left his side during the whole process, smiled too. You did it, she said. You saved the plants without destroying them. She paused, thinking. Marcus, my people, we have similar crop problems on Artemis Prime. Could this help them too? Marcus looked at her with surprise. You want to share this with your people? I thought Amazons didn't accept help from humans. I have learned that pride means nothing when people are hungry, Lysandra said quietly. Perhaps it is time for my people to learn as I have. That evening, as they sprayed the solution on the crops, Lysandra watched Marcus work. She saw how his hands moved carefully, how his mind solved problems, and how he taught others to use his solution. She realized she was seeing a different kind of strength, one that her people had never understood. We were wrong about humans, she said softly, but only to herself. So wrong. The morning started peacefully on New Eden. Marcus and Lysandra were checking the recovered plants in the greenhouse when the settlement's alarms began to scream. Amazon ships. Someone shouted through the emergency system. But they're not Lysandra's clan. These are from the Red Star clan. Lysandra's face turned pale. The Red Stars are the most violent of all Amazon clans. They kill for pleasure, not just for conquest. 3 massive warships appeared in the sky, their red symbols glowing against black metal. They were bigger than the ships from Lysandra's raid, and they carried more weapons. Everyone to the shelters, Marcus ordered through his communicator. He turned to Lysandra. You should hide too, if they find you here with us. No, Lysandra stood tall. I will not hide. I must make a choice today. She looked at Marcus. Where is my armor? Marcus hesitated for a moment, then ran to his house. He returned with her powered armor, fully charged and upgraded with some of his own improvements. I've been working on it. It's stronger now. As Lysandra put on her armor, the first group of Red Star warriors landed. They were huge, even by Amazon standards, with blood-red armor and cruel faces. Their leader stepped forward. Humans, the leader shouted. Your weapons and food stores will be ours. Resist, and we will destroy everything. To everyone's surprise, Lysandra walked out to face them. You will take nothing from here, Kara of Red Star. She knew the leader from old battles. Lysandra. Kara laughed. The great warrior, protecting humans. Have you become their pet? No, Lysandra said firmly. I have become their ally. These humans have something our people lack. Wisdom. They solve problems without destruction. They share knowledge freely. She activated her armor, now enhanced by Marcus's technology. Leave this place. Traitor. Kara roared. Kill them all. The battle that followed was unlike anything the settlers had seen. Lysandra fought like a true Amazon warrior, but she used Marcus's technological improvements in ways that surprised the attackers. Her armor moved faster, hit harder, and protected her better than standard Amazon gear. Marcus didn't stay hidden. He activated the settlement's defense systems, not just weapons, but clever traps using electromagnetic pulses, stunning sounds, and even the irrigation systems to create muddy ground that slowed the attackers. Impossible, Kara shouted as her warriors fell one by one, defeated by the combination of Lysandra's strength and human technology. How can humans be so strong? They are strong because they work together, Lysandra answered, blocking Kara's attack. They grow stronger by helping others grow stronger. This is what our people never understood. The battle ended when Kara, realizing she was losing, ordered a retreat. As the Red Star ships flew away, the settlers came out of hiding. Instead of fearing Lysandra's power, they celebrated with her. You fought for us, an old woman said to Lysandra. Why? Lysandra looked at Marcus, who was helping injured settlers. Because I learned that true strength isn't about who can hit hardest. It's about protecting others, growing together, and finding better ways to solve problems. That evening, as they repaired damage from the battle, Marcus found Lysandra watching the sunset. You risked everything to help us, he said quietly. No, Lysandra replied. I risked everything to stand up for what is right. Your people showed me that change is possible, that working together makes everyone stronger. She turned to him. I can never go back to my old ways now. Marcus smiled. Maybe you don't have to go back. Maybe you can help build something new instead. Lysandra looked at her hands, still wearing the improved armor. Yes, she said softly. Something new. Together. The stars began to appear in the sky, but for the first time, they didn't seem to divide Earth and Artemis Prime. Instead, they connected them like bridges of light across the darkness. 1 month after the Red Star clan's attack, a formal message arrived from Artemis Prime. Marcus found Lysandra in the fields, teaching young settlers how to test soil quality. The High Council wants you back, Marcus said quietly, showing her the message. They're calling you a traitor for fighting against other Amazons. Lysandra read the message, her hand shaking slightly. They will execute me if I return. This is their way. Death to any warrior who betrays our traditions. You're not going back, Marcus said firmly. We'll figure something out. But the next morning, 3 official ships from the Amazon High Council entered New Eden's atmosphere. They landed outside the settlement, and 5 tall figures in ceremonial armor stepped out. Their golden armor marked them as council members, the highest authority among the Amazons. The lead council member, an ancient warrior named Thena, demanded a meeting. The settlers gathered in their community center, with Marcus and Lysandra standing together at the front. Lysandra of the elite guard, Thena's voice boomed through the hall. You have betrayed our ways. You fight alongside humans, share our secrets, and refuse to maintain the proper order of things. With respect, High One, Lysandra stepped forward. I have learned that our ways are not the only ways. Look around you. She gestured to the thriving settlement. These humans grow food better than our best farming clans. They heal sickness better than our healers. They improve technology freely instead of hoarding it like our weapon makers. That is not our concern. Another council member spoke. You must return for judgment. Marcus stepped forward. No, she stays if she wants to stay. You dare speak to the council? Thena's eyes narrowed. Yes, I dare. Marcus activated a holographic display showing crop yields, medical advances, and defensive improvements. Look at what we've achieved together. Lysandra helped us understand Amazon's strength, and we helped her understand human innovation. Together, we're better than either of us alone. Lysandra touched Marcus's shoulder gently. He speaks truth, High Ones. I have seen things here that could help our people. The humans' plant medicine could save our failing crops. Their water purification systems could help our desert settlements. You speak of helping those who should be our slaves. Thena asked, but there was a hint of curiosity in her voice. I speak of helping everyone grow stronger, Lysandra replied. Is that not better than endless fighting? Better than watching our people struggle with problems these humans have already solved? A younger council member stepped forward, looking at the holographic displays with interest. Our latest reports show crop failures in 3 sectors, and the Red Star clan's attack on this settlement failed completely. Because we work together, Marcus said, Lysandra's strength and our technology. We can share all of this with your people, but not as masters and slaves. As equals. The council members spoke quietly among themselves. The settlers waited nervously. Finally, Thena turned back to them. This goes against 1,000 years of tradition, she said slowly. But perhaps some traditions need to change. Lysandra will not be punished. She looked at Marcus. Instead, we wish to learn more about this. Cooperation. The relief in the room was instant. People cheered, and even some council members smiled. Later that evening, Lysandra found Marcus in his greenhouse. You stood up to the High Council for me, she said softly. Of course I did. You're one of us now. He paused, looking at her, and you're more than that to me. Lysandra smiled, taking his hand. When I first came here as a raider, I thought humans were weak. Now I know that love, kindness, and working together are the greatest strengths of all. Outside, the council members were touring the settlement, learning from the settlers, already beginning to bridge the gap between their peoples. A new chapter was beginning, and it started with 2 people who dared to break with tradition to find something better. 3 months had passed since the High Council's visit. New Eden had changed. Amazon warriors now walked freely among humans, learning and teaching. But the biggest change was coming today. A large delegation from Artemis Prime was arriving to see this new way of life. Are you nervous? Marcus asked Lysandra as they watched ships descend from the morning sky. These weren't warships, but diplomatic vessels carrying young Amazon warriors, teachers, and even some civilian workers. A little, Lysandra admitted. Many of these are from my old training camp. They once looked up to me as a war leader. Now I must teach them about peace. The ships landed gracefully, and nearly 100 Amazons stepped out. Among them was Aria, Lysandra's former student, and now a respected young warrior. Her eyes widened when she saw Lysandra and Marcus standing together. Teacher, Aria bowed slightly. We have heard strange stories. They say you farm now, work with machines, and she glanced at Marcus, live as equals with humans. All true, Lysandra smiled. Let me show you why. The tour began at the greenhouses. The visiting Amazons watched in amazement as Marcus demonstrated the automated farming systems. Even more surprising to them was seeing Lysandra expertly operate the computers and explain the science behind the plants. But these are servant tasks, one young warrior protested. No, Lysandra corrected gently. These are life tasks. Look, she showed them the latest crop yields. Since combining Amazon strength with human technology, our harvest has doubled. No one goes hungry here. Next, they visited the new training center, where human children and young Amazon warriors learned together. Human kids were teaching Amazons about computers, while Amazon youth taught humans about physical training and discipline. This is impossible, Aria whispered, watching a small human girl teach a tall Amazon how to program a robot. We were taught humans were primitive. We were taught wrong, Lysandra replied. Look there. She pointed to where Marcus was teaching a group about electromagnetic fields. Their strength is in their minds, in how they solve problems. Combined with our strength, think what we could achieve. The afternoon brought more surprises. The visitors saw the improved Amazon armor, now enhanced with human technology. They watched mixed teams working together on construction projects, each using their unique strengths. During the evening meal, Aria approached Marcus and Lysandra again. Teacher, I saw something today I never expected. The humans. They laugh while they work. They share knowledge freely. Even the children teach others, because they understand that helping others grow makes everyone stronger. Lysandra explained. I learned this from them. From Marcus. More young Amazons gathered to listen. One asked, but what about our traditions? Our warrior ways? Marcus spoke up. You don't have to give up being warriors, but you can be more than just warriors. Look at Lysandra. She's still one of the strongest fighters, but now she's also a farmer, a teacher, and a bridge between our peoples. And I am happier now than ever before, Lysandra added, smiling at Marcus. Later that night, after the visitors had gone to their quarters, Marcus found Lysandra watching the stars from their porch. They're changing, she said softly. I can see it in their eyes. The same change I went through. It's not easy to question everything you were taught to believe, Marcus replied, taking her hand. No, but it's worth it. Lysandra turned to him. When I first came here as your prisoner, I never imagined I would find a new way of life, a better way. And love? Marcus asked softly. That was the biggest surprise of all. She smiled. That a warrior could learn to love and be stronger for it. In their guest quarters, many young Amazons lay awake, thinking about what they'd seen. The next day, several would ask to stay and learn more. Change was coming to both their peoples, and it had started with two hearts brave enough to break with tradition. The Great Hall of New Eden was decorated with both human and Amazon symbols, flowers from Earth mixed with warrior banners from Artemis Prime. Today was a historic day, the first official marriage between a human and an Amazon warrior. Marcus stood nervously at the front of the hall, wearing his best clothes. Next to him, his mother wiped tears from her eyes. She had traveled all the way from Earth when she heard the news. My son marrying an Amazon warrior, she whispered proudly. Who would have thought? The music started, and everyone turned to watch Lysandra enter. She wore a combination of traditional Amazon warrior armor and a human wedding dress, silvery metal mixed with flowing white fabric. She looked both powerful and beautiful. Thena, the High Council leader, stood ready to perform the ceremony. In the 6 months since her first visit, she had become a strong supporter of human-Amazon cooperation. Today, we witness more than a marriage. Thena's voice filled the hall. We witnessed the future. Once, we thought humans were weak. We were wrong. Their strength was different from ours, but just as valuable. Marcus and Lysandra held hands, her tall, strong fingers gentle around his smaller ones. In these two, Thena continued, we see what can happen when we put aside old hatreds. Marcus showed us that intelligence and compassion are forms of strength. Lysandra showed us that even the strongest warrior can learn new ways. In the crowd, Aria sat with a group of young Amazon warriors who had chosen to stay in New Eden. Many now worked alongside humans, learning and teaching. Some had even started their own relationships with humans. Through their example, Thena spoke, our peoples have grown stronger together. Our worlds are changing. Amazon warriors now study human science. Human children learn Amazon combat skills. We share our strengths and help with each other's weaknesses. Marcus smiled at Lysandra, remembering how far they had come from the day she tried to take him prisoner. Do you, Marcus Chen, take this warrior as your wife, promising to respect both her Amazon heritage and her new path? I do, Marcus said clearly, and I promise to keep showing her that the greatest strength comes from working together. And do you, Lysandra of the Elite Guard, take this human as your husband, embracing his ways while honoring your own? I do. Lysandra's voice was strong but gentle. He taught me that true power lies not in conquering others, but in helping them grow. They exchanged rings. Marcus's was made of Amazon battle steel, Lysandra's of earth gold. As they kissed, the hall erupted in cheers from both humans and Amazons. At the celebration afterward, everyone shared food and stories. Young Amazons danced with humans, council members discussed science with settlers, and children from both worlds played together. Look at them, Lysandra said to Marcus as they watched the celebration. No more masters and slaves. No more warriors and weaklings. Just people learning from each other. And this is just the beginning, Marcus replied. Think of what our children will be like. The strength of Amazons and the innovation of humans. Lysandra touched her stomach gently. About that, she smiled. The doctors say our baby is healthy. A girl. Marcus's eyes widened with joy. Really? When did you find out? Yesterday. She'll be the first of her kind. Part human, part Amazon. A bridge between our worlds. As the party continued, Thena approached them. The council has decided, she said. We will build a new settlement here, a place where humans and Amazons can live and learn together. A model for both our worlds. Marcus and Lysandra looked at each other, then at the happy crowd around them. New beginnings, Lysandra said softly. For all of us, Marcus agreed. Above them, the stars of New Eden shone brightly, witnessing the start of a new chapter in the story of both their peoples. A story that began with a warrior learning about love, and a farmer showing that true strength comes in many forms.